Coming up on Lifestyle.
I grew up in an extremely chaotic household. There was sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, spousal assault. I remember my mother saying that she couldn't have any girlfriends over. It was that bad. We shouldn't feel guilty about what happened to us when it comes to generational trauma, but we have a responsibility to stop it. The big turning point for me was when I was 19.
Welcome to Lifestyle, the award-winning life coaching show that helps you live your best life possible. Here's your host, Roy Ice.
Have you ever wondered if it's possible to break free from the story you were born into? Yeah, well, for today's guest, trauma wasn't just part of her past. It was woven into her family history. But instead of continuing the cycle, she chose to rewrite it. Through the power of personal storytelling, she's helping women around the world find healing, purpose, and the courage to speak their truth, one chapter at a time. Please help me welcome author, story coach, and founder of Women Like Me, Julie Fairhurst. Good morning.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Julie, you do amazing things, and I think a lot of our viewers will be surprised at what you do. Tell us what you do.
Well, I help women to live better lives, and I help them by healing and letting go of trauma from their past, and we do that through writing and through storytelling. And I feel that when people can get the trauma and all of that stuff that's in their heads out of their head and body onto paper, it really is a healing process, and it helps them to be better women.
Yeah.
And better mothers, and it helps their future generations as well.
Okay, I meet a lot of people who do incredible things, and what tends to be the typical story is the reason why they're so passionate to do something has to do with what they themselves have had to overcome. Mm-hmm. Is that why you're passionate about this?
Absolutely, absolutely. I grew up in an extremely chaotic household where there was sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, spousal assault, addiction, crime. It was not a nice place to grow up. And so there was myself and my three brothers. And it just, yeah. And luckily for me, for all sorts of reasons, I came out of it, but my siblings have not. And it's pretty sad to see.
What typically happens in these situations is one generation behaves a certain way and creates a norm that this is just life. This is how relationships work. This is how a house is run. This is how a husband treats a wife treats a husband, the kids are treated. What was your experience like generationally? I mean, were your grandparents models that just weren't followed? Or?
Yeah, so my grandparents, alcoholism goes far back as we can find. So that was certainly an issue, but my grandfather was very abusive and sexually abusive as well as physically abusive. And so I remember my mother saying that she couldn't have any girlfriends over. It was that bad. So she came out of that with her own trauma. And then when I was 10 years old, my mom got into a very serious car accident, and she was drinking and driving, and her best friend was killed. And she had 3 little girls. So of course they lost their mom, and husband lost his wife. But I always tell everyone, we lost our mom that night too. So she already had issues, but this sent her over the edge. And so from the age of 10, there was never any physical contact. Nothing nice was ever said to us. We were, and I understand why. That's a big trauma and guilt for her. But she never overcame that. And she died at 70 from lung cancer. And she had a very sad, unhappy life. And again, as I say, luckily for me, I was headed down that path, but for reasons, I was able to not go there, but my brothers did. And so into crime, into very severe drug addiction. And yeah, so it definitely trickled down.
What is it that went through your mind that said, I'm not going to continue this? What was it? Anger? Did you have any other role models? What was it within you that said, this can't be normal? This
Yes.
can't be the thing that we continue doing.
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
Well, as a young child, I always thought that. I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to bake cookies for my kids. You know, just little things like that I can remember. But the big turning point for me was when I was 19, and my husband at the time and I got involved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Huh.
Yeah, and what that showed me was that there is another life. I didn't know that there was another life. I thought this was just the way it is. And then when we got involved with the church, the people were so kind. And I saw a normalcy and people that just loved us for who we were. And I remember they brought us food, and because we had trouble in the beginning, but it was, I just saw that. And for 10 years, being involved in that really taught me what it was like to live in a loving environment. And that was really what started me. And I always tell people, if it wasn't for finding God and that community, I would not probably be on this earth.
Many people, and some of the people even watching the show, would say, I wish I had the same experience, because their viewpoint of coming to a church is a place where they'll be judged, not welcomed, a place where they'll have to follow a bunch of rules. But yet you found something completely different. And what I found as well is when you do truly find a church that is connected to the true love of God, that it does change everything. And that's what church is supposed to be.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it just set my life on a different direction, which was what I needed, because I didn't know anything else. I remember as a kid being, on the streets and seeing families holding hands and nice things being said to little kids. And I remember looking at people in cars, and I remember always thinking, like, what's it like? Like, it was just so far over there.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be involved in community. So I think community is so important, so important. And that's, that was my role model.
Yeah.
It was all those people.
Yeah, that just shows the power of positive community.
Yes.
We have to take a break, but don't go away. We have some incredible words about what she did as she decided to live out her purpose. Don't go away. We're back with Julie Fairhurst, and joining us is Dr. Sharmini Long.
Hi. Talk to us about generational trauma and what your experience has been with that and what that has been in your life.
Sure. With my mom, we lived in silence. Nobody ever talked about what happened, and she never went and got any help for that. And so quietly and silently, that gets passed along to all of us children. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I was able to get out of it, but my brothers didn't. My brothers both have children, or they are drug addicts. And my niece, at 24 years old, in 2019, died on the streets of Vancouver from fentanyl overdose. And so that's just the way generational trauma goes. And for myself, my kids were going down not the best path, and they were starting to use drugs, and things were not good. But because I changed, they saw it in me, and I was better, and I was able to stop that. So now they're doing very well. I've got fabulous. They're like just the best dads ever.
That's wonderful.
And I can see it. It's done.
Yeah.
And I always say, that we shouldn't feel guilty about what happened to us when it comes to generational trauma, but we have a responsibility to stop it.
Yes.
So that it does not continue on to the next generation and the next generation.
There's actually really interesting scientific information about generational trauma and how it affects us from a medical standpoint as well. So there's something called epigenetics, which is how environmental factors influence gene expression. So it doesn't change the DNA, but it changes how our bodies express genes, whether they turn on certain genes or turn them off. And there's really, this first started being described when generations after the Holocaust were studied and after the Dutch famine. And it's very interesting because it will last to 3 and 4 generations, that influence of how genes are expressed. So it reminds you of that text in Deuteronomy about things being passed down to the 3rd and 4th generation. There's actually true scientific data behind that.
Yeah.
But there are ways to overcome it.
Yes.
So healthy eating, improving lifestyle factors, talking through things that have happened, getting those things exposed, being able to deal with them, and then improving, the family environment can make a big difference.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So it's wonderful what you're doing in that regard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, this all pushed you to have a
Yes.
passion
Yes.
to respond in a certain way. How
Yes.
did you respond?
I called 13 of my stepsisters and best friends and asked them if they would like to write their true life story, a chapter of their life in a book with me, and they did. And so my niece died September of 2019. Our very first book came out December of 2019, and since
Wow.
that time, we just had our 29th book come out last week, and I have published 353 true life stories and helped over 160 women.
You were really
Write
called
their
with a
story.
purpose.
Amazing.
Yes.
Incredible.
It's amazing.
I've got writers from Spain, from Mexico, from the UK, lots from the United States, of course, lots from Canada, where I'm from. And
How do you find the writers, or do they find you?
well, I put out author calls. So I have a Women Like Me community. And so within that community, that's my only criteria, is I want women to join the community because we do a lot of other good things in there, not just writing stories. But if they're in the community, they can write in any book that we come up with. And then we also have the chapter story books, which is a little bit of a longer process. Because it's much harder for women to tell those stories. Those are big stories. And so that usually can take us up to about 2 months to do, and I'm in the middle of doing one right now. And the other thing that is about our program is there's no cost. There has been no cost for any woman to write in the Women Like Me book series, because I remember what it was like to not have money, to live on welfare, to be looking in and going, I wish. And so there's no cost at all. It's all completely free. And then there's other perks that they get as we go along the way, but no woman has ever paid anything to write
That's
in any of the
wonderful.
books.
That's
It's
awesome.
incredible.
What do you think this does for the women to tell their story?
I can tell you it helps. I've seen it. I have a writer who came to Canada, 21 years old. She was attacked, brutally attacked, raped, almost died in the hospital for 2 months. Then 50 years later, she finds me and she said, I'm tired of hiding. I feel like I go in a room and I feel like an imposter. And so that's one of the biggest ones. So she is free. She's free.
It's like it allows that healing process to begin.
It does. They heal because they get it out of their bodies and into a book. But then it gets published out into the world. So all that shame and all that guilt and everything is gone. It has to be, because it's out there in the world.
I love that. They're seen and now they're supported. We got to take a break, but don't go away, because some of the best stories are coming up. We're back with Julie Fairhurst and Dr. Sharmini Long.
Julie, talk to us. You've worked a lot with women. Have you thought about including men? Because there's obviously generational trauma with them as well.
There certainly is. But I chose to work with women. Of course, I am a woman, so I understand them. But my main reason for focusing with women is because I believe that women are the glue that holds the family together.
Absolutely.
And so if we as women can heal, become healthier individuals, physically and mentally, that just naturally is going to spread to the rest of our family.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I decided just to focus mainly on women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been something that perhaps has surprised you, maybe a group of individuals that you've been the most excited to see the life change that this process has brought them?
Well, we have a group in Kenya.
Okay.
So, and they call themselves Strong Women
Wow.
in Kenya. That's what they call themselves, but it's Women Like Me chapter in Kenya. So there's a pastor, her name is Pauline, and we connected on social media. I would put out an author call for people that would want to write their life story, and she connected with me on Facebook, said, "What is this all about?" And I welcomed her, and I asked her, if you would like to write, you can. Of course, they are very poor, and they have no computers or any of that kind of technology. They've got iPhone, or they've got phones. That's about it. So all of her writing came through Messenger on Facebook, and then in broken English, but her English is not too bad. So she wrote in one of the books, and it was an amazing story. I was just blown away by it. And so after our book launch, I contacted her and I said, "Pauline, why don't we write a book with ladies in your community? You can pick who you want, and let's do that." She was so excited, and I said, whatever profits come from that book, I will send them back to you ladies, and you can do what you need to do with them for food or school fees, whatever you need. So 21 women wrote in the first book. The fourth book, the manuscript came in the mail because, of course, everything has to come snail mail because they don't have the technology that we do. They don't even have computers. I have pictures where they're all writing by hand. And so now we're writing their fourth book. But even more important than those stories is the pride that it gives them. They are earning money. They are earning money for their families.
Wow.
I didn't know this, but they didn't even have soap. And I remember Pauline bought a bunch of things, and I said, "Well, what is that?" And she said, "It's soap." And I said, "Oh, like body soap?" She said, "No, dish soap." She said, "We get very sick here because we can't afford dish soap."
Wow.
And so the luxuries that we have, dish soap.
You wouldn't even think about it.
Wouldn't even think about it. So it has just been life-changing for some. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
So you created an opportunity for them to not only help heal, but to support themselves and their family.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That helps them emotionally heal.
Yes.
Now, we have a picture, I think, that's of your authors from Kenya.
Oh, there they are.
And I just am curious, why are they all wearing blue dresses?
So two ladies in the very beginning made their own. All the ladies sewed those themselves. So made those two outfits. And Pauline, she's on the ground there in the middle. And so she was so excited to show me these. And I'm like, "Pauline, I don't understand." And she goes, "This is our uniform. This is our Women Like Me uniform. And these uniforms show that we belong to something different, something exciting." So 26 ladies later, my husband and I've got such an amazing husband. So my husband and I sent over enough money for them to buy the material so that they could all have matching uniforms. And Pauline's wonderful to send me so many photos. So I'll see them wearing them at community weddings or at baptisms. They're always in their outfits. But sadly, there's a few ladies that's the only thing they have.
Really?
Yeah. So, but they just there's just so much pride. And then other women go, "Well, what is it that you're doing? What is this all about?" So we started with 21. Now we're at 26, and I think in this next book, I have to double check, but I think we might have 29 writers.
Julie, how can people? I imagine there are several viewers who are saying, "I want to be part of what you're doing with the Women Like Me movement here." What's the best way for them to connect? Website, social media?
Yeah, I do have a website. It's juliefairhurst.com. So they can go there, and there's lots of information. The easiest thing to do, though, is to reach out on Facebook. I'm on all social media, but Facebook, we have a very large platform there. And then I also have our Women Like Me community group, which every woman is welcome to join. So there's like one or two little questions they ask, and then we let them in. And when you're in that community, that's where we have the opportunities to write in the books. We have a Women Like Me magazine that they can write in. We do podcasts. We do videos with them. There's so many opportunities, and there is no cost for any of that.
That's incredible. In fact, for those of you at home, if you go to our Instagram, Lifestyle with Roy, and you type in under the post that's with Julie Fairhurst episode material there on Instagram, if you write the word journal, we will get you a free PDF from Julie of a confidence journal template that you can use in telling your own story. Julie,
Yes.
you are amazing.
Aw, thank
I'm so
you.
sorry we're out of time. We could spend maybe 4 episodes talking about
Yeah.
just how lives are changing through telling story. Thank you
Well, thank
for
you.
letting yourself
Thank
being
you very
used
much. I
in this
appreciate
way.
it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We got to take a break, but don't go away. When we come back, I've got some powerful words to make your life better. Breaking generational trauma is like repairing a cracked foundation while still living in the house. It's not easy, but it's possible and it's powerful. Maybe you were handed fear instead of trust, criticism instead of encouragement, silence instead of support. But here's the truth: you don't have to pass it on. According to research from the American Psychological Association, healing begins with awareness, compassion, and connection. And those who seek therapy build emotional literacy and create safe relationships that can change the trajectory of their entire family line. One study found that just one emotionally safe adult in a child's life can buffer the effects of trauma dramatically. That means you could be the turning point. You didn't start the fire, but you can be the one who stops it from spreading. So if you're rewriting the script you were handed, take heart. You're not failing your family's legacy, you're elevating it. You are the author now, and you're writing a chapter filled with strength, healing, and hope. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Don't forget that you can find exclusive content on all of our guests. Check us out on social media using the handle Lifestyle with Roy.